Hey, peace and power, family. This is your brother Shakim. Man, I came right back at you once again. Today, I want to talk about a very controversial topic, extremely controversial. And listen, before I start off, I want to make this statement. As a black man, I understand poverty. I understand racism. I understand how it lives. I understand how it lives in the fabric of this society. I've seen people hungry, seen people poor. I've led initiatives to feed the homeless. A lot of us as activists, community leaders, maybe just being in your local church or your mosque or your synagogue, whatever, we understand poverty. A lot of us do. A lot of us have actually lived in poverty, impoverished conditions, whether it's in the inner city, the projects, whether it's prison system or whatever. Most of us have been subjected to, I would say, the annals of poverty and how it can negatively impact one's mind, one's health, and just anything about a person. Poverty shapes our lives. It gives us the inclination to do certain things that we don't want to do at times. It forces us into criminality. A lot of time, it forces us into areas where are situations where we don't have any other option but to do things we would never do because of our inability to sustain our lives. That's what poverty does. And the people who get paid off of poverty are the ones who want to keep the poor poor so that they can be slaving for the rich. So we understand the manufactured condition of poverty and how it permeates our society and what it is and what it's expected to do to enrich those who benefit off of misery. So just recently in the news, there's been a lot of talk about immigrant caravan. Now, the immigrant caravan actually started in Honduras. I'm gonna put up this. I'm gonna put up this map so you can really kind of get an understanding of what I'm talking about. So it looks like it departed San Pedro Sula on October the 13th. It arrived in Mexico City around November the 4th. Went in Guadalajara, Mexico, and now it's in Tijuana. They arrived November the 13th. So with this situation that we have going on now, there's a lot of controversy. There's been a lot of things coming out of the White House. A lot of people have been asking, what do they want, right? A lot of people that's interviewed members of the caravan have asked that question. And some of the answers that we have sound like some of the conditions that we currently have here in the United States. So what do they want, right? So a lot of the migrants said they were leaving their respective countries in hopes of building a better future for themselves and their families. Of course, we empathize with that. We understand that, right? Everybody wants a better life for their family, and sometimes you can't get it where you at. You have to move. It even happens within this country. Some of them actually said that they were threatened or extorted by gangs. A lot of gangs in the areas. Where there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of drugs. People can't find jobs, so they have to make a living. Many are traveling with children who have actually fallen prey to sexual trafficking. They've been exploited for low wages. So a lot of them are traveling with their children and saying, listen, we got to bring our children with us. There's no way that we can leave our children behind in a state of misery and destitution. And we totally understand that. We always want better for our kids than what we want for ourselves. A lot of others hope that they can get a better paying job so that they can turn around and send money back home to their families, right? That's the ultimate thing. If I can make it, then I could turn around and make some money and get my family on their feet and bring my family to where I'm at. And there's nothing wrong with that type of mentality. And I think that mentality is what a lot of people do need to have. That's loyalty to your community, loyalty to your people, loyalty to your family. Marcus Garvey taught that when he had the philosophy of Pan-Africanism, race first. He said, anywhere we are, we need to turn around and look at our brothers and sisters across the African diaspora. Like, let's take our resources and build and send it back home to our people, right? That's a philosophy that a lot of black people have been under and have been studying for years. Many of them actually said they're actually leaving because their relatives are already in the United States and they just hope to join them. They just want to, they hear a lot of the stories about how it's better over here. So they're saying, listen, my relative is over there, they can do it. I need to get over there. I want to be able to do it. And they feel like they cannot earn wages in Latin America. In actuality, in Honduras, there's almost 8.8 million people. 68% of the country actually live in poverty, and 80% of the workforce get paid below minimum wages. If you look at the bleak outcome of the country and the people who have to leave each year and corruption, it's an understanding of why these people want to leave. But guess what? Where are they gonna go? That's the big question. Where are they gonna go? Now, let's listen to something that Donald Trump said, right? Because when talking about this caravan, he calls them invaders. He says, yo, these are invaders. He said, you have all type of bad people in there. You got MS-13, we're throwing them out, by the thousands in this country. And you got this caravan full of like 7,000 to 10,000 people. He said, you got gang members in there. You got rapists and thieves and robbers. And he said, you even have like Middle Easterners in there. So I don't know where he's getting this information. Nevertheless, you got to understand that there probably are gang members that are in there. That's only logical. So what he said he wanted to do was he wanted to close the border temporarily until all of this gets straightened out. And he talked about the Ninth Circuit. A lot of it is California. There was a ruling. Now, the amnesty laws, if you look at amnesty laws, amnesty is set up for people who are facing persecution in their country, whether due to their ethnicity or their religion, some sort of protected class, that privilege that we have here. If you're in a country and you're being threatened because of your race or your sex or any sort of protected status here, you can apply for amnesty in the United States. So President Trump actually wanted to change a lot of that. So let's just kind of listen to what President Trump had to say about this whole situation with the caravan and the
tremendously dangerous people in those caravans. And we do not want them coming into the United States, and we're not going to let them. We're throwing out MS-13 and so many others. We're throwing them out of our country by the thousands that got in here over the years. And we're throwing them out by the thousands, and we're bringing back towns. We're making towns safe, and we're doing an excellent job. But
now that's very interesting. Now, let's look at it from this perspective. Where are these people going to end up at? A lot of times they end up in the urban black community. Let's not even front. Let's not even fake. We know where they're going at. They're not going in the white communities at all. And if they go in any white areas, they're going to be poor white areas. So a lot of the people that are advocating for this, they're not going to be your next door neighbors, right? The people whose next door neighbors they're worried about crime. If I'm living in a community and somebody said you got 10,000 illegal immigrants wanting to come to the city, and I'm already in the hood, I'm going to ask myself, okay, so they barely speak English. How are they going to function? What about transportation? What type of public transportation do we have accessible to them? They can't drive. Where are they going to get jobs at? We're going to address or talk about the notion that they're taking jobs that black people and other people don't want. I'm going to show you where that's totally not true statistically. We got to ask ourselves, like medical costs. Are medical costs going to rise because you have all these people coming in the area, and if they get sick, where are they going to go? They're going to go to the doctor. They're going to go to the hospital. So are medical costs going to rise? There's a lot of questions that need to be asked. If some of these young men in the caravan don't have jobs, are they going to go underground, start selling dope? Are they going to sell cocaine, heroin? Do I have to worry about, more drug dealers in the community? These are all valid questions. All valid questions. And these are questions that are automatically associated with poverty. So don't act like it doesn't exist. Where are these children going to go to school? Do we have a school that speaks, that officially allows them to learn in their language? Is there a public school now where they can go to? And if there is, how can they accommodate the people? See, we have to think outside of the box instead of thinking so emotionally. Like I said, I understand how poverty works. When you start looking at a lot of the pictures of the people, it makes your heart melt because you don't want to see people living in the conditions that they're living in Honduras. Yes, we do have the same conditions here in the United States. You don't have to go that far to see people living in the same conditions that they're living in. Hell, I can go down the street from where I'm at now and go see the same conditions. See bums on the corner, see them getting kicked off of the street, begging for change, children, homeless, and all of us can see the same thing. So we have to ask ourselves as a people, and especially black people and poor whites and even Latinos, where are these people going to go? Do we have the funds available to actually make this work? Now, some of the people asking, well, who's in charge of this caravan, right? Because it's not like you have 10,000 people that can just automatically get up and say, yo, we're going to go to the United States. Now, there's been some talk about a guy named Alex Mensing. Alex Mensing actually is the organizer for the Pueblos Sin Fronteras. It's actually an immigration rights group. He's the head of it, the organizer. They're claiming that, he's in charge of it. They did say that in April there was a smaller caravan that was put together that he was actually the head of. So recently, Vice President Mike Pence talked about the organization of caravans, and you're going to be very interested to find out who he believes is behind this. Let's look at the tape.
Look, this caravan was organized by leftist groups in Honduras, financed in part by Venezuela. That all according to the president of Honduras, who told me those things personally, of millions of Americans. But frankly, we have 1,000 people trying to come into our country illegally every day, and yet Democrats in Washington D.C. Refuse to fund construction for the wall. They refuse to close the loopholes that human traffickers use to entice people to come into this country illegally.
Now, he talked about liberals. Now, in defense of the liberals, right, because we want to try to remain unbiased at all times. We just want to talk about issues, right? So recently, President Obama, when he was on the campaign trail right before the elections, he made some statements in response to the allegations that they were trying to, basically Obama said they're trying to spread this fake news of this invasion of people coming across the border and hype everything up right before the election. So let's listen to what President Obama had to say about this.
They're telling us that the single most grave threat to America is a bunch of poor, impoverished, broke, hungry refugees 1,000 miles away. That's like the thing that's really going to threaten Gary, Indiana. It's not like we need more jobs here. It's not health care. It's not like how are we going to educate our kids and get those guns out of the hands of our gang. That's not the thing. The thing is these folks 1,000 miles away. And by the way, they're even using our brave troops, sending them down as a political stunt. Men and women of our military deserve better than that. But the reason I'm saying all this, listen up now, Indiana, the reason I'm saying all this is important. Unfortunately, sometimes these tactics of scaring people and making stuff up work.
Okay, so if you hear about it, listening to the tone of Obama, he's saying, listen, you don't have anything to worry about. There's way more of the things that we have to worry about than, 7 to 10,000 immigrants coming that are 1,000 miles away, walking and trying to get into the country. He's saying, listen, a lot of that is just overhyped. Let's be careful of how we entertain these things that the Republican Party is talking about. He's saying, listen, at the end of the day, we've always been dealing with illegal immigration. We have things like crime, economics. We have things like medical care, medical costs. All of these things are at the top of our agenda, and we should not be worried about a caravan. Now, that's up to you to decide, right? Because what Obama said could be true. Is it all hyped up? Is it all overblown? Or what the right is saying is, listen, don't sleep on this. Because when these people get over here, wherever they're going at, it's going to be a huge problem. I'm not asking you to take sides or wear team jerseys, because you know on this show we are not Democrats, we are not Republicans. We are independent thinkers for our communities and our people first. Nevertheless, these issues we do have to talk about. It is up to you to decide. We want to be unbiased. Now, I have my opinions on the matter. In my opinion, I believe this is something we need to look at, because we know that they're coming to our communities. And if I'm operating on an agenda for the community, then these are things that we need to be aware of, right? Because they're not going to President Obama's hood. He's not going to have to worry about 10,000 immigrants coming into his neighborhood. That's the least of his worries. He can sleep at night. But a lot of us, we're not going to have this option. So let's look at something really quick. Now, when these migrants got to Tijuana, Mexico, they were actually met by protesters. A lot of protests actually jumped off due to people in Tijuana saying, listen, we're in the same situation y'all in. We don't want y'all here. A lot of them said, you know, we understand what you're going through. We feel your pain, but guess what? It's bad enough that I can't get a job. So I can't even get a job. So we can't afford to have y'all here. Some of the protests erupted out, turned violent. Mexico is definitely having a hard time. President Trump just stated that he was going to sanction Mexico if they didn't allow them to have these people seek asylum in their country. He even stated that what we're going to do is we're going to stop even allowing them to export cars in the United States, because we can't handle all of these people. It's a sad situation. Now, I want to give you some interesting facts and information and data about what I was talking about. I have an important report here from the Center for Immigration Studies. Actually, what happened is they were getting the information from the Department of Commerce, and they had some notable findings. And this is all to dispel the myth that a lot of blacks don't want jobs that illegal immigrants want. And that's totally untrue. Blacks are not lazy to where we would not, and that's another thing that disturbs me. I mean, a lot of people say, you know, man, these young brothers out here, they don't want to work construction. They're not going to be on top of a roof. That's a lie. You got a lot of people say, man, these young brothers out here, man, they're not going to work in a restaurant. That's a lie. You know, a lot of that is a lie and a myth that needs to be dispelled. And we as black people got to watch out for who's putting out this type of propaganda, because there's a lot of brothers who do roofing. There's a lot of brothers who are in the hospitality, and sisters who are in the hospitality industry. So we can't be so quick to just throw out that mantra that, oh, they're doing jobs that we won't do. Now, let's look at some of the notable findings. Now, there's 474 civil occupations. Only 6 of them are majority immigrant, whether legal or illegal. Out of those 6 occupations, they account for only 1% of the total U.S. workforce. Now, there are no occupations in the United States in which a majority of workers are illegal immigrants. Let me repeat that again. There are no occupations in the United States where there are a majority of illegal immigrants. Now, illegal immigrants mostly work in construction, cleaning, maintenance, food service, garment manufacturing, and agricultural occupations. However, the majority of workers, even in these areas, are either native-born Americans or legal immigrants. So you can't even with that being said, even in those small occupations where you have a majority or a lot of immigrants working, they still don't make up a majority of the workforce. And when you start going through these numbers, okay, let me read this one thing. It says, many occupations that are thought to be worked overwhelmingly by illegal immigrants or legal immigrants are in fact majority native. Let's look at them. Maids and housekeepers, 51% are native born, U.S. Taxi drivers and chauffeurs, 54% are native U.S. born. Butchers and meat processors, 64% native born. Grounds maintenance workers, 66% native born. Construction laborers, 65% native born. Janitors, 73% native born. So you can't tell me that there's all this work out here that brothers don't want to do and brothers are lazy, brothers and sisters are lazy. Stop it. Stop it. We out here working these jobs. Don't do that. Don't do that. You know, and it's very disturbing that we would utter this foolishness and not even checking the numbers. Listen, I'm gonna tell you like this. I got total empathy and sympathy for people who need opportunities. I totally understand and I'm riding with you. However, we got to pay attention to stuff like that because our communities are in bad shape right now. And if we just allow people to just come across and just come in our neighborhoods and come in our community, that's going to cause a lot of disaster. Like I said, y'all, we don't wear team jerseys. We not Republicans. We not Democrats. We independent thinkers. And what we do is we make sure that we have the proper perspective of everything that goes on. We got to look out for our self-interest as a people. We have to. You know, I don't have any problem with them trying to come over and get their lives together. But guess what? We got to look at who's pulling the strings and what their overall intention is. Because if you got a lot, the only people who benefit from large illegal immigration are rich white people who hire them for low wages to manipulate them to get them more money. These are the only people who benefit from mass immigration, illegal immigration. I'm not talking about the people who do illegally. The people who do illegally, you deserve to come. There's a process. But remember, the only people who benefit from illegal immigration are rich white people who are either millionaires, billionaires, are hoping to increase their revenue by hiring people they can underpay and get away with it. Keep your eyes open at all times, family. Peace and power. This is your brother Shakim Amr Hotel. Thanks for tuning in once again. Peace.